Hello everyone, welcome to Biotech Notebook. This video covers general introduction about lymphoid organs and then we will see complete details on the bone marrow. Okay, so first let's start with introduction about lymphoid organs. In lymphoid organs where immune cells develop and mature, then immune responses are also initiated in these lymphoid organs. Based upon the functions of lymphoid organs, it can be classified into two types. One is primary lymphoid organ and another one is secondary lymphoid organs. Okay, immune cells, that is lymphocytes and myeloid cells, are developed and matured in primary lymphoid organs. Okay, bone marrow and thymus are known as primary lymphoid organs. All the lymphocytes and myeloid cells are developed and matured in bone marrow except T cells. Okay, T cell precursors are developed in bone marrow, but maturation of T cells takes place only in thymus. Okay, so the maturation of T cells takes place in thymus. Okay, then in secondary lymphoid organs, these immune cells encounter antigen and these cells initiate an immune responses in the secondary lymphoid organs. Okay, lymph nodes, spleen are known as secondary lymphoid organs. Then secondary lymphoid tissue collectively referred to as Mucosa-associated lymphoid tissue. This MALT is found associated with the linings of multiple organ systems including the gastrointestinal, GI tract and respiratory tract. Okay, then this MALT includes tonsils, Peyer's patches in the small intestine and the appendix, as well as the numerous lymphoid follicles within the lamina propria of the intestine and then the mucous membranes lining the upper airways, bronchi and genitourinary tract. Okay, so this MALT, mucosa associated lymphoid tissue, is associated with many multiple organ system. Okay, before seeing in detail about primary lymphoid organs, first let's see two important terms, that is known as stromal cells and stem cell niches. So the ability of any stem cells to self-renew, okay, and differentiate into different types of immune cells depends upon the structural organization and cellular function of a specialized anatomic microenvironments, which is known as stem cell niches. Okay, so stem cell niches is nothing but a specialized anatomic microenvironment. So this microenvironment favors immune cells to develop and differentiate. Okay, then these stem cell niches are populated by a supportive network of stromal cells. These stromal cells express soluble and membrane bound proteins that regulate cell survival, proliferation, differentiation and cell trafficking. Cell survival is the ability of cell to maintain its viability and functionality. Then cell proliferation. Cell proliferation is a process by which cells reproduce themselves, thereby it increases in cell number through growth and cell division. Then cell differentiation. Cell differentiation is a process whereby cell becomes specialized into specific cell types. Okay, it becomes specialized into specific cell types with distinct functions. Then next one is cell trafficking. Cell trafficking refers to movement of immune cells throughout the body for maintaining a healthy immune system. Movement of cells throughout the system is known as cell trafficking. So stem cell niches is a specialized anatomic microenvironment, and this microenvironment is populated by this stromal cells. Okay, then these stromal cells express soluble and membrane bound protein which helps differentiation and maturation of stem cells. Then bone marrow and thymus are known as primary lymphoid organs. Okay, then next let's see in detail about bone marrow. The main function of bone marrow is support self-renewal and differentiation of hematopoietic stem cells into mature blood cells. These mature blood cells including red blood cell, white blood cell and platelets. This process of hematopoiesis takes place in bone marrow, which I have explained in detail in my first video, cells of the immune system. Okay, bone marrow supports self-renewal and differentiation of hematopoietic stem cells into mature blood cells. Okay, only T lymphocytes do not complete their maturation in the bone marrow. Remaining all other immune cells are developed and matured in bone marrow. Only T lymphocytes do not complete their maturation in the bone marrow. T lymphocytes precursors need to leave the bone marrow and it gets mature in thymus. Okay, this thymus only provide the unique microenvironment, that is that stem cell niches for the T cell maturation. Precursors need to leave the bone marrow and it gets mature in thymus. Then this bone marrow is not only responsible for differentiation and maturation of hematopoietic stem cells, this bone marrow also responsible for maintaining the pool of hematopoietic stem cells throughout the life of an adult vertebrate. Okay, so we have to maintain some number of hematopoietic stem cells throughout the life of an adult vertebrate. Then next we should know where this bone marrow present in the adult vertebrate. What is this bone marrow? This figure shows a typical cross section of a bone with a medullary cavity. So medullary cavity is also known as marrow cavity, which is the hollow central space within the shaft of the long bones. Okay, then this space is occupied by bone marrow. So this bone marrow is present in all types of bones, and marrow is nothing but it is the soft spongy tissues located in the center of the most bones. Okay, then there are two types of bone marrow. One is red bone marrow and another one is yellow bone marrow. Hematopoiesis process takes place in red bone marrow. So hematopoiesis is nothing but hematopoietic stem cells differentiate into all types of blood cells is known as hematopoiesis. This hematopoiesis process takes place in red bone marrow. So yellow bone marrow is to store fat in adipocytes. Okay, then this fat can be converted into energy when the body needs it. Okay, then in emergencies like a severe blood loss, it can revert to, that is this yellow bone marrow revert to red bone marrow to produce blood cells. Okay, then this fatty tissue, that is yellow bone marrow, replaces red bone marrow as we ages. Okay, so when we get age, your red bone marrow is replaced with yellow bone marrow, so hematopoiesis process will slow down. Then although all bones contains this marrow, particularly the long bones, that is femur or humerus, then hip bones, ilium, then sternum tend to be the most active sites for hematopoiesis. Femur is the longest bone in the thigh portion. It connects hip to knee. Then humerus. Humerus is the long bone which is present in the upper arm that extends from shoulder to elbow. Then hip bone. Ilium. So ilium is the largest and uppermost part of the hip bone. Then sternum. Sternum is a breastbone. It is a flat and T-shaped bone located in the center of the chest wall. Okay, so these bones tend to be the most active sites of hematopoiesis. Next, let's see types of stromal cells in bone marrow. Osteoblast, endothelial cells, reticular cells, and sympathetic neurons. So the first one is osteoblast. Osteoblast cells are used to generate bone, and also it helps to control the differentiation of hematopoietic stem cells. The next one is endothelial cells. These endothelial cells lines the blood vessels, and these cells also helps to regulate hematopoietic stem cells differentiation. The next one is reticular cells. These reticular cells provide structural support by producing reticular fibers that forms a network for hematopoietic stem cells. Okay, these reticular cells influences the trafficking of hematopoietic stem cells, and it also helps the development of other bone marrow cell types. The next one is sympathetic neurons. Sympathetic neurons can control the release of hematopoietic stem cells from the bone marrow. The next one is microenvironments present in bone marrow. As we know that the bone marrow is packed with hematopoietic stem cells at all stages of development, but the precursor of each myeloid and lymphoid subtypes mature in distinct environmental microniches within the bone marrow. That means the maturation of your lymphoid and myeloid precursors takes place at the different microenvironments present in the bone marrow. So these microenvironments are of two types. One is endostel niche and second one is vascular niche. Endostel niche is the area which directly surrounds the bone and in contact with bone producing osteoblast. Okay, then the most immature cells appears to be associated with this endosteal niche. Okay, so immature cells will be associated with this endosteal niche. Okay, then as they mature, they migrate towards the vascular niche. Then fully differentiated cells exit bone marrow via blood vessels. Okay, this endosteal niche is the area directly surrounding the bone and which is in contact with bone producing osteoblast. Okay, so here you will find most immature cells. Okay, once they start mature, they migrate towards the vascular niche. Okay, then fully differentiated cells exit through the blood vessels. Okay, then vascular niche is the area directly surrounding the blood vessels. Okay, endosteal niche is the area directly surrounding the bone. Okay, that's why it's known as endosteal niche. Okay, but vascular niche is directly surrounding the blood vessels, so it is known as vascular niche. Okay, then it is in contact with endothelial cells. So endothelial cells are nothing but the cells which lines the blood vessels. Okay, then which is occupied by the hematopoietic stem cells, that is matured immune cells that mobilize to leave the endosteal niche to either differentiate or circulate. The mature cells, that is the cells which is going to circulate or differentiate, will occupy this vascular niche. So the more differentiated a cell is, the farther it appears to migrate from its supportive osteoblast. Okay, and it is closer to moves to the central regions of the bone. Okay, for example, the most immature B cells are found closer to the endosteum and osteoblast, while more mature B cells have moved to the more central sinuses of the bone marrow. Okay, that are richly served by blood vessels. Okay, so more mature cells are near to blood vessels, and immature cells are present at the center of the bone, that is closest to the endosteum and osteoblast. Then bone marrow is not only a site for lymphoid and myeloid development, but it is also a site to which fully matured myeloid and lymphoid cells can return. Mature antibody secreting B cells, that is plasma cells, may even take up long-term residence in the bone marrow. So bone marrow is not only the place for hematopoiesis, it is also a resident place for some immune cells. So whole bone marrow transplant do not simply include stem cells. Okay, so if you transplant bone marrow for any reason, it won't have only stem cells, but it also includes mature functional cells. Okay, when you transplant bone marrow, these mature functional cells may both help and hurt the transplant effort. Okay, this is all about bone marrow. Next video we'll see in detail about thymus. Thank you for watching my videos. If you like my videos, please do like, share and subscribe. Thank you. In the next video we will see in detail about thymus.